95 Pounds of Hope, Chapter 2. Anyway, I know plenty of people who don't like school. You, for example. If I ask, do you like school, you'll shake your head and tell me no, of course not. Only major goody-goodies would say yes, or the ones who are so smart that it's like a game for them to test out their intellectual skills every morning. Otherwise, who really likes it? Nobody. And who really hates it? Not that many either. Except the ones who like me, the ones they call losers, the ones who always get sick to their stomach. I open my eyes at least an hour before the alarm clock goes off, and for that hour I feel the knot swelling in my stomach. When I get down from my bunk bed, I feel so sick that it's like being on a boat on the high seas. Breakfast is torture. In fact, I feel like I can't swallow a mouthful, but since my mother is always standing over me, I take a couple of dry crackers. In the bus, my stomach ache turns into a hard stone. If I meet friends and we start talking about Zelda or some other game, I feel a little better, and the stone gets lighter. But if I'm alone, it suffocates me. The worst moment of all is when I arrive at the school door. It's the smell of school that makes me sick. The years go by and the place has changed, but that smell stays the same. That mixture of chalk and old sneakers grabs my throat and sends my heart into the pit of my stomach. The stone starts melting away around 4 o'clock, and by the time I get back to my room at home, it has completely disappeared. It comes back when my parents get home and start asking me about my day and rifling through my school bag to check out my homework book. But with them, it's not so bad because I'm used to their little scenes. Well, not exactly. I'm not telling the truth. I can't get used to it. Fight after fight, and I still can't stand it. It's really ghastly. Since my parents don't love each other that much anymore, they have to fight every evening, and because they don't know how to start off, they use me and my bad grades as an excuse. They blame everything on that. Then my mother blames my father for never having taken the time to do things with me, and my father replies that it's all her fault for spoiling me rotten. I'm fed up. So fed up. I'm fed up more than you could ever imagine. When it's like that, I block my ears from the inside, and I concentrate on what I'm building. A Lego spaceship for Anakin Skywalker, or a K-Nex gadget for squeezing toothpaste tubes, or a giant pyramid of old cardboard, old boxes and cartons. Then comes the torture of homework. If my mother helps me, she always ends up crying. If my father, I always end up crying. I'm telling you all this because I wouldn't want you to think I have terrible parents, or that they take it out on me. It's not that at all. My parents are great. Well, sort of. I mean, they're just normal. It's school that ruins everything. Actually, last year I only wrote down half the homework in my notebook. I did it to avoid all those evenings of misery. That was the only reason. But I didn't dare say so to the school principal the day I found myself in her office in tears. Stupid, really. Anyway, it was just as well I kept quiet. What could that fat old turkey have understood? Nothing, obviously, because the following month she expelled me. She expelled me because of PE. I have to say that I hate PE, almost as much as class. Not quite as much, but nearly. If you could see me, you'd understand why judo mats and I don't go together. I'm not very tall, not very coordinated, and not very strong. I'd go even further. I'm not very tall, not very coordinated, and I have the muscles of a teddy bear. Sometimes I stand in front of the mirror with my hands on my hips, puffing out my chest. It's quite a shock. I look like a worm doing bodybuilding, or like Popeye before he eats the spinach. But still, I can't let absolutely everything in my life get me down. Something's got to give. Otherwise, I'd go completely crazy. And that something last year was PE. Even writing these words make me smile ear to ear. Mrs. Berleron and her PE class always sent me into hysterical fits of laughter. This is how it began. "Dubas, Gregory?" she said, eyeing her notebook. "Yes?" I knew that once again I would mess up the gym routine and look ridiculous. I wondered when it would all end. I stepped forward. The others were already beginning to giggle, but for once they weren't laughing at my lousy performance. They were laughing at how I looked. I had forgotten my gym things, and since it was the third time that term, I had borrowed Benjamin's brother's clothes to avoid getting detention. I have had more detentions in 1 year than you will ever have in your whole life. What I hadn't known was that Benjamin's brother was a clone of the Jolly Green Giant and was 6 feet tall. So there I was, strutting along in a size double XL tracksuit with a size 10 sneakers. Needless to say, I was an instant hit. "What on earth is this get-up?" yelled Berleron. I put on my innocent look and said, "I can't understand it, Mrs. Berleron. Last week it fit perfectly. I don't see." She looked like she would explode. "Do a double somersault, feet together, right now." I did one catastrophic somersault and lost one sneaker. I heard the others laughing, so to entertain them, I did another one, and managed to send the other shoe flying towards the ceiling. When I got up, my underpants were showing because my pants had slipped down. Mrs. Bouleron was bright red, and my classmates were cracking up. The sound of that laughter made me feel good. For once, I wasn't being made fun of. This was laughter like you hear at the circus. And from that moment on, I decided to be the gym class clown, Mrs. Bouleron's court jester. Making people laugh gives you a warm feeling inside, and it's like a drug. The more people laugh, the more you want to make them. Mrs. Bouleron gave me so many detentions that there was no more room in her grade book. In the end, I got expelled because of all that, but I don't regret it. Thanks to her, I did feel a tiny bit happy at school, just a tiny bit useful. I have to say that I caused total chaos. Before, no one wanted me on their team because I was so pathetic, but afterward, they fought over me because my pranks threw the opposing team off. I remember one day when they put me in as a goalie. What a scene! As the ball came toward me, I shimmied up the net of the goal like a panic-stricken monkey, yelling in terror. And when I had to put the ball back in the game, I always managed to throw it the wrong way and score a goal for the other team. Once I even lunged forward to get the ball. Of course, I didn't get near enough to touch it, but when I got up, I was munching a tuft of grass, mooing like a cow. That day, Karen Leveler peed in her pants, and I got a 2-hour detention, but it was worth it. I was expelled because of the horse. Actually, it's ironic because for once I wasn't kidding around. We had to jump onto this huge foam rubber thing, grabbing hold of the handles. When my turn came, I missed and really hurt well, you know what I mean. My willy was crushed to a pulp. Of course, everyone thought I'd done it on purpose, and I was faking the ow to make them laugh. Berleron dragged me straight to the principal's office. I was doubled up in pain, but I didn't cry. I didn't want to give them that pleasure. My parents didn't believe me either, and when they heard I'd been kicked out for real, I got what was coming to me. For once, they were screaming in harmony, and they certainly put their hearts into it. When they finally let me go back into my room, I shut the door and sat on the floor. I told myself, either you climb into bed and cry, and you'd be right to cry because your life is worth nothing and neither are you, so you might as well cut your losses and die right now, or you get up and make something. That evening I constructed a giant monster out of a bunch of scraps that I had found on a building site. I called it Harry Berry, after my favorite gym teacher. It wasn't the best joke in the world, I grant you, but it did me good, and at least it kept my pillow dry.